President Joe Biden has been getting a lot of pushback in corporate media and on Capitol Hill for going through with the previous administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. So, look, he's been getting absolutely mauled by corporate press. Oh, it's Biden's Saigon moment. Oh, it's the worst disaster that we've ever seen. A foreign policy blunder. Something, Jimmy Carter. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But look, I agree that it could have been a lot better. But I don't think that there's anything really that any president could have actually done to make the withdrawal any smoother. But hey, look, right now Biden seems to be staying pretty firm and arguing that ultimately it's the right thing to do in the face of all of this pushback from his friends, in the his establishment friends, and of course the corporate media. And so I just want to show you him pushing back on that earlier from a speech where he once again has to defend his decision to pull out from Afghanistan. Take a look.
If we didn't leave Afghanistan now, when do we leave? Another 10 years? Another 5 years? Another year? I'm not about to send your son or your daughter to fight in Afghanistan. I don't see where that is in our overwhelming interest.
All right, so look, this was good. The policy of leaving Afghanistan is good, and he makes a good point. How long are we going to be there? 10 years? 1 year? 5 years? 100 years? 200 years? Again, and understand that like there are people in there that have actually made the call of like, yeah, we should stay there forever. We should stay there to the end of time. Why? Well, I mean, CNN already tipped their hand when there was an opinion piece that came out saying that they had like what $3 trillion or something worth of rare minerals that the rest of the world desperately needs. No, Afghanistan, rare minerals. Rare minerals. We got to have them. We got to have them. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you seem to be pretty open about that. About how you want to go back and basically do what Trump had said to do when it came to Syria and the oil. Remember when everybody in the media was up in arms about that? Oh, how dare they say, Donald Trump say we go in and take Iraq's oil and Syria's oil to pay for the war. Oh, terrible, terrible. Well, now you've got MSNBC, you've got so-called liberals in liberal, so-called liberal media, which are really not, establishment media saying, well, we should have taken those rare materials that the rest of the world needs, to pay for our 20 years in Afghanistan. No, leaving Afghanistan was a good thing, and I'm actually going to defend Biden on this one because he's actually making the right choice. Okay, no matter what, we should not have been there in the first place, and it's good that we're getting out. And again, you can criticize the logistics of the pullout. That was indeed lacking, and that was, of course, a disaster. And of course, if you want to point out that we're not doing very well at getting our Afghan allies out, sure. But again, I don't really think any other president would have been able to handle it that much better. Certainly not Donald Trump. I don't think Bernie Sanders could have handled it that well, right? And even so, all three of those people are in the right when it comes to the policy decision of that we should not be in Afghanistan. But understand here, and this is the point that I want to get to. There's a lot of people that are crying crocodile tears right now for the average Afghani citizen, right? And they're doing so in order to score cheap political points, whether it be Republicans who actually supported Donald Trump's plan to pull out, which of course left about 2,500 troops in Afghanistan and left the Taliban in a much stronger position, who now seem to be shocked at the weakness of the Biden administration and our poor Afghan allies who better not try to come to America. Oh no, those people could be potential terrorists. We can't let those people in. No, they should stay over there. But our poor Afghan allies, right? That's a Republican. Now you have media figures who are also going around and trying to armchair quarterback a disastrous failed war, a war that they had cheerleaded us to get into in the first place. But the only thing that they're concerned about is, politics. Oh, politics. What's this going to mean for the horse race? Oh, what's it going to mean for Joe Biden? And here's the thing, right? Right now, this is terrible for Joe Biden when it comes to the polling, when it comes to the politics. I mean, the media is against him. The liberal establishment is against him. The neocons are obviously against him. The military-industrial complex. All the people that he thought were allies here are, well, he just found out that they're really not. They're against it because they're in favor of endless war. And despite all that, despite the barrage of negative press, which has hurt him politically, people still overall believe that he did the right thing. In fact, I've got some polls here, and it's disastrous, but also there's kind of a ray of light in it too. So now CBS News and NBC News recently came out with two polls. Now, they roughly show about the same thing, that 63% of Americans support the withdrawal from Afghanistan. So now that's a good thing. That's where Biden's got them, the American people, the majority on his side, where they say, yes, we do not belong in Afghanistan. We should have been out of Afghanistan. But how it's going, well, again, here's where the negative comes into play. Only about 5% say the process is going very well. I don't know who those 5% are. I don't know. They're deluded. The process is going terribly. 21% of the respondents say that it's going somewhat well. 30% say somewhat badly, and 44%, a clear majority, say it's going very badly. In total, 60% of Americans disapprove of Biden's handling on Afghanistan, with only about 25% approving. And it's tanked Biden's approval rating. It went down from 58% down to 50%. So that's a gigantic crash. However, you look at the polls that matter. The 63% that support the policy because it's the right policy. And then you also have the 61%, and this is important too. The 61% of Americans who say the war was not worth it in the first place. Never even worth it. They also found out that many respondents do not specifically blame Biden 100%. In fact, they believe both Biden and Trump have responsibility, with the Taliban ultimately taking control. But over half of all respondents put a lot of blame on the Afghan government and the Afghan army. So understand that actually, I know when Biden says, well, it's Afghan army, what are you going to do, right? He's actually kind of right. See, here's the thing. This army that we funded and trained, that is incredibly well funded and well trained by American troops, because we sat there for years and years and trained up and built up this big Afghan military, right? That was supposed to be, just amazing, right? Well, it wasn't the training that was the problem. No, they're incredibly well trained. It wasn't the equipment that was the problem. No, they got fantastic equipment, and guess who's got it now? The Taliban. No, the thing is, the Afghan military had absolutely no will to fight. None. No reason for them to fight. Why are we fighting the Taliban, they say? I don't care. I'm not going to fight for this puppet government. This is not my government that I supported. No, this was a paycheck. Don't care. And so understand that is why the Taliban took over so quickly. And of course it blindsided Joe Biden, because he actually thought that, wow, we put so much money into this. Why didn't it work? I thought if we just throw money and training at the problem, that it's going to work. And he even said, look, they've got to have the will to fight. And if they don't, well, then that's it. They didn't have the will to fight. And they didn't care about this. And so that actually supports Biden's position as the right one. Because if we wasted that much time ousting 20 years, ousting the Taliban out of power, training and building up this thing, for the Taliban just to come right back in as soon as we leave within days, then what we did not work. And Biden's position of leaving is the right one. And Trump's position was the right one of leaving. And so, and look, the pullout, understand, was never going to be pretty, never going to be a good, look, we were an occupying force. When an occupying force leaves, well, generally, this is how we leave. This is how you leave. And we should have never been there in the first place. And at least Biden seems to understand that. Because remember, he didn't understand this back in the day. Biden was one of the original congressmen, one of the 97 congressmen that voted in favor of the authorization of military force, giving George W. Bush, the ability to first conduct wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Both of them were monumental disasters and absolute horrific failures. And he voted for it. And this is on him. And this is on everybody who voted for it. Bernie Sanders voted for it. Only one that didn't. Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Remember that. Remember that. She was the only one who knew this, who got it right the first time. And then, well, everybody else came around. Everybody else came around. And look, Biden took him a long, long time, but at least he's there. And so this is on him, though. This is part of his responsibility, and he's rightly, of course, being called out for that, and has actually taken responsibility for what happened. Now, I don't know, maybe this is after 4 years of, I'm not responsible for anything that happens that's bad, but I actually am going to give him a lot of credit and be like, well, you are taking responsibility for this. He says, look, the buck stops with me, and said, I stand squarely behind this decision. After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time, there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces because this was going to happen. I don't think Donald Trump, look, I don't think Obama would have had the fortitude to take ownership of this, especially if it meant massive media pushback. Because we know from Obama was about pushing his legacy. That's all that it was. That's all he cared about. At least on this one, he's actually doing the right thing in actually standing up against the pro-war media and the neocons and the pro-war liberals. It's not easy to have everybody against you, because believe me, progressives, we know more than anyone. So, that everybody's going to be against you if you call for the right thing. And so in this one, I'll defend him and I'll give him credit. But understand that only on this am I going to give him credit. This doesn't mean that I'm going to let him slide on anything else, But again, on this, credit where credit is due. Even when this entire thing turned out really poorly, you still did the right thing. And that's what counts. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.